I'm Rochelle Wilhite. I'm the designated broker and owner of Best Choice Realty. Tonight, we're covering the seller conversation and just going over how to build a script to have a conversation with your seller. So Shannon and I had a nice little debate, and she actually says that many of you do not actually use a kind of a script book or know what questions to ask. And so we're going to kind of back it up tonight and give you the raw information. If you want the raw, where you want to actually build your own seller script, you would need to send me an email or send an email to Candace, and she'll be happy to send this Word document over to you so that you can kind of, in essence, build your own script. As I go through tonight, these are some of the questions that I have obtained after probably 4 or 5 different coaches, a variation of Tom Ferry, of Mike Ferry, Brian Buffini. If these names sound familiar, it's because I've coached with them, or I've taken some of the best questions from my coaches and interwove them into various, helped agents build their own scripts. So what you see on the screen here is my raw seller questions from these various coaches that have helped me in building my own personal script. So the idea here would be for you to obviously have some good icebreakers. I think most agents have a hard time initially with that first, I would say 30 seconds to a minute on the phone with the seller lead. I actually got a dry run this morning when I got a phone call from a seller, and it was actually somebody who had to sell their home. And it was their dad had passed away, and she had the power of attorney. And again, I had to advise her, it's not a power of attorney. We need to go through the process with title and escrow to actually make sure that she indeed has the right to sell the property. She did say that she had a will, and that she was named in the will, and then she also had a copy of the death certificate. So those are the 2 things that I asked her that she'd need to have. And she said that she had not received any phone calls back from 5 different real estate agents she called. And this was like easy money for me, just ask some questions. But the icebreaker that I used when she called me is, what information would you like me to provide to you that is not on our website? That was my icebreaker question. So these icebreakers are not meant to be used each client or each lead that calls you or that you reach out to and have a conversation about selling their property. These icebreakers are meant to kind of give you an idea of what to say initially on the phone to try to warm up that call. Would you like me to run a quick market value of your home? Essentially, what you're trying to understand is the address. You need to gather that address as soon as possible. And then in this particular case, I've been trained to ask this icebreaker question: what information would you like me to provide? And she's like, well, here's my story. And then she laid it out and told me about that situation, about her dad dying, and then where they were in the process, and how she had spent, on the phone all afternoon on her lunch break. We talked later on in her lunch break. She tried calling 4 other people and she couldn't get them to respond. So I think there's a lot to be said about being available, answering your phone, and also being in a position where you can ask the right questions to get at their situation and move the conversation forward into an appointment. Ultimately, just like working a buyer, when you work with the seller, your goal is to uncover as much as you possibly can on the phone. Get them to stay on the phone for approximately at least 5 minutes and to about 15 minutes. If you spend more time on the phone, you might have to spend less in person when you meet with them, or less time on Zoom if you're doing a Zoom appointment with them. But ultimately, my first conversation, I've trained myself to spend anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes by asking some of the questions that you see here on the screen. Now, again, like I said earlier, it's this questionnaire or this kind of seller preparatory sheet, Word document, whatever you want to call it, is not meant to be used, from top to bottom. It's really meant to have you take the questions or the questions that I provided here and build your own script. Find something that fits you or the way you ask or the type of questions you would want to ask. So I would get yourself 1 or 2 icebreakers, and then I would go down the list and find 2 or 3 questions for each relevant category. So the categories are reasons and motivation for moving. This is what the sellers are wanting to tell you and what you should be asking. You also need to ask about their readiness to list or their urgency. Super important you get after that. This, again, these questions or these types of categories are meant to move the process forward faster. Now, have I taken listings without asking all these questions? Yeah. And I'm sure all of you could do that as well. The difference, though, for me is I'm trying to build a process and a procedure and a script that will get after more sellers than if I did not have some sort of process or script. And also save me a bunch of time, because if I can answer or uncover some of these details in my first conversation, number one, that makes my process of actually preparing for my appointment to meet in person with them a lot easier. And it also allows me to gather information that will help me analyze their comparables and do a good CMA. So it's kind of that, and then also the third reason is basically to secure the opportunity. And apart from my competitors, those of you who maybe kind of were going through the motions maybe before this crazy low inventory market and maybe didn't have a script, maybe you need to spend some time and actually retool your business in such a way, because you're up against multiple people. I mean, with this lady calling 5 other people and then reaching back out to me on her lunch break showed me that it's competitive for these listing opportunities. By me answering the phone, maybe I'm going to make an extra $20,000, $30,000 just because I answered my phone. And I would not have had a shot at that if I hadn't answered my phone. One of you probably would have got that opportunity. So the readiness to list, the urgency, it kind of helps me troubleshoot, like, is this seller going to be somebody I need to continue following up and really aggressively connecting with? Or maybe they're not looking to get their home on the market till the end of the year. Then I can kind of time block and understand how I need to spend my time. I always ask about the opinion of value. What did they think their home is worth? That gauges on, how much I need to really dial into the numbers. Or if they're not the type of person that really cares, sometimes it's interesting. Some people are really possessive about the upgrades they've done, and they can give you the dollar and the cent of how much they spent in upgrades, where others may only give you Zillow says their home is worth this, or Redfin says their home is worth this. And that also helps me in preparing for the appointment, because I know who I'm up against and I know how to speak the language and share the kind of information they need to have. A previous experience with real estate, I've done this class multiple times in person and on Zoom. And some of the top producers are like, why do you want to know what your competitors have done? Oftentimes when I ask questions about their previous experience with real estate, it helps me understand how slow or how fast I need to work. And oftentimes they will tell me what they don't like. And I don't want to fall into that category. There have been times where they've described their perfect real estate agent or the type of agent that they desire. And maybe that's not a match. Maybe I don't have the capacity to take on that project. And in that case, then I'm able to refer that business out to somebody else, or I can have somebody that's better suited personality-wise to work with that seller. The worst thing that can happen is you decide to work with the seller, and then you have a personality clash, or the project is too big or needs too much updating, and you don't have the time or the experience to work with that seller. And it would be better suited to work with a partner or to find some other experienced broker to co-list and share the pain. There is some pain that goes into working with sellers. It's not as easy as HGTV makes it out to be. There's a lot of psychological barriers that you're going to uncover, properties that need a lot of work in order to get them ready to sell and on market, and unrealistic sellers that think they know everything. So opinion of value is pretty important in previous experience with real estate. The last one, Shannon, if you want to scroll down a little bit, is to set expectations. So once you've kind of got at those core issues, and again, we're not looking to ask all the questions, but to maybe pull 2 or 3 in each category, then you want to set expectations. And it could be, what else do you think I should know? And then you want to really say, here's what I can do for you, or here's how I work. And you take the approach that you're the authority, and you ask for the appointment or ask a time when you can schedule a meet and greet or a follow-up. Now that we're in the age of COVID, or trying to get out of the age of COVID, a meet and greet may not be possible. And so it'd be important for you to understand their scheduling and how it would be best to meet in a safe space, or to take a look at the property so you can actually analyze what you're looking to do. but you do want to schedule that follow-up or that meet and greet or that appointment to actually meet and see the property. You can ask follow-up questions. These questions are, just as you ad lib through the call or with the conversation, you could ask questions like, what does that mean? These questions are not to be very robotic. You also want to have, some other follow-up questions sprinkled in throughout the conversation, like, what does that mean? Could you explain that more in detail? Why is that important? What is important to you about whatever they said? Just so they can understand that you're not robotic and that you're staying on point and keeping the conversation moving forward. So those are some questions that I used to clarify or to follow up with maybe something that the seller would say. So with that, it's just like one page. It was maybe be helpful as you build your own script, but I would often coach a listing agent to spend some time. I've got a mentee right now that's currently working through this document, and I gave this to her last week and she's already having conversations. I think she had a conversation at the bar with a good friend of hers, and flat out when she was kind of done, she asked for a commitment, which I was like, woo, impressive. Actually asked, I know you have other people that have expressed interest to you in selling your property. Will you give me the opportunity of listing your home? She just flat out asked for the sale. And she got the verbal commitment. Hopefully she got the actual 1A listing agreement signed shortly thereafter, but definitely a verbal commitment. So we know that this type of questionnaire or these types of questions work. You just have to build it and make it your own. So take the time after our call today. If you need the document, we have a pretty version that was sent to you already. But if you need, and it's also downloadable from our resources, but this pretty version right here, you have it. So in case you want to just reflect on it, but I would internalize this much more than you probably saw. I told Shannon, I said, how many people do you think they actually download this and actually practice building, rapport and going through the questions, picking 2 or 3. And quite honestly, I don't think enough people are doing this because we'd have a lot more listings. I know that for a fact. So I'm going to back up the bus and tell you guys, if you want the raw document, we can send it to you and then let you manipulate and make your own listing questionnaire or your listing sheet. Once you get used to asking the questions that you're used to asking, then it becomes natural and you can just ditch the script. So as you build a script, the idea of script is it's not scripted at all. You basically get really good at asking the questions and role playing that. So it's so good, in fact, that you can actually take the script and you can ditch it. And then it comes naturally as you're having a conversation. That's the best agents that I've seen in working seller leads, is ones that have spent the time and have practiced before they actually go out and make those calls. So what we're going to do today, Eric is going to be my seller. Are you ready, Eric?
I guess, ready as I'll ever be.
You could just play nice. Do not be so harsh on me because, again, it's the role play. But to get my point across, I think it's easier if people can hear me ask the question. So go back, Shan, or make it a little bit bigger for me. Give me the raw if you want. You want to go that way? Then it's like top to bottom. There we go. Okay. So we're just gonna role play like for real, Eric. So it's ring, ring, ring. Hi, is this Eric?
Oh yeah, this is Eric speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, Eric, I was given your name and number from a friend of mine who had said that they are listing that you were thinking about putting your home on the market in Des Moines. Is that correct?
Oh, that actually is correct. My friend didn't lie to you there.
She said that you were interested in trying to get an evaluation of your property. And, can you give me your address? Because I don't think she gave that to me.
Sure. I live at 999 Baker Street Avenue, in Des Moines.
Okay, super. So I just have a few questions. Do you have a few minutes? I can jot down some more information.
Yeah, I have a few minutes. Yeah, I'm a little busy, but I can do it.
Awesome. Can you tell me about your home? Like how many bedrooms, baths, square footage, that type of thing?
Okay, I have, I guess it's a 2-story home. Okay. We have 2 bedrooms in the bottom, and I think maybe a half bedroom, the top floor there.
Okay, kind of a loft, I think is what she was telling me, your friend.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we kind of closed off a little bit. We're calling it a bedroom right now.
Okay. Awesome. And how long have you lived there?
I've lived there for 15 years now.
Okay. What do you like most about the neighborhood?
Well, it's kind of closed off. It's on a cul-de-sac. That I'm leaving it, and that it's it's a little quieter around here, so I enjoy that about it.
Okay. And then what do you like least about the property?
It's a little remote. Sometimes the main street can have a little bit of traffic about it,
Okay.
and it's just not practical for us anymore.
Okay. Are you upsizing, downsizing? What's your
We're
situation?
definitely sizing down right now.
Okay. Is it just you on the title or is there somebody else on the title?
How hard? Just me on the title.
Just you on the title. Okay.
It's not worth it. Yeah, just me.
Would you have to sell your home to buy another one, or are you looking to just take the
Yeah,
cash?
that'd be the safest thing, is we're looking to sell so we can buy somewhere else and pocket the rest.
Okay. What do you think your home's worth?
Oh, I think like maybe 550,000 at least, depending on this market.
Okay. What makes you say that?
Oh, I've just seen housing prices rise, and we've invested a little bit in here, and I just think that would be a good place to start.
Okay. Have you seen any other properties in your neighborhood that have gone up for that price?
We checked Zillow a little bit, but we haven't really asked around too much.
Okay. And do you have a mortgage on the property still, or do you own it outright?
We own it outright.
Okay. All right. Will you be interviewing other realtors?
Absolutely.
Okay. When will you be interviewing the other realtors?
We don't have anything set in the books yet. It's all a little up in the air. But we have talked to this Windermere fellow, and I think someone at Redfin.
Okay. But nobody, I mean, your buddy said that you got to talk to me, at least get me in the door.
The first one to have called us.
Jack said that you were a fun guy. You
Buddy
actually
Jack, that's right. I love Jack.
Golfs at the same place. Yeah. So are you out golfing this week then? Or are you available to kind of meet in person to see the property?
I can probably schedule something this week. Does Friday morning work for you?
I've got a full schedule, Eric. So we have to kind of look at my schedule and kind of connect.
Okay.
What about your weekend? Is your weekend all?
Yeah, Sunday I'm a little busy. Maybe Saturday we can make something work.
Okay. What do you expect from an agent? So if I come out to meet with you on Saturday or Sunday, we can find that time. What do you expect me to bring and what do you expect me to do?
Oh, it's been such a long time since I've been in the market. I'll be honest with you, Rochelle, I don't know what to expect.
Okay.
It was my first time out there. So, I guess you tell me.
Well, what criteria will you be looking for? If you're looking at Redfin and Windermere and those types of brokers, what criteria will you be using to hire an agent?
Well, definitely trying to get the most I can for my property. I definitely feel like with today's market, I'd love to get a competitive price. I do know everyone's trying to automate things. So every agent I know they have their own take, and I have different feelings about that. So I'd be kind of curious to see, what your walk away from all of this is.
Okay.
And I think that really just is as far as I've gone into it so far.
Okay. Sounds good. So what I can do for you is I will put some time. It takes me a bit of time, Eric, to put all this together and to get the evaluation put together and make sure that I can get the type of information that will help you make a good decision. When are you looking to get the house on the market?
Oh, we don't have anything really set in date, but I guess as soon as possible, once everything starts to look right and we get things start moving.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and start working on the proposal. I've got the address and kind of understand the layout. Have you done any upgrades to the property since you bought it?
Oh yeah, we've put a new coat of paint on it. We've worked with the molding a little bit inside the house. We did a little bit of work in the appliances and stuff like that. All kinds of little things.
Oh, good. Awesome. So what I can do is, based on that information, is compile some actual sales data that have closed in a near vicinity of your property so that you can see what you can expect as far as the valuation. And then what I can do is put together a market proposal to show you how I work and what the cost would be for selling your property. And I can do all of that. It does take me quite a bit of time to put that together. So the soonest I had got available would be on Saturday. It looks like at 2 or Sunday in the morning. Does one of those times work for you?
Saturday at 2.
Saturday.
That would be best.
I mean, I go through it, I have to look at some of the properties too, Eric, like if I use that one, some of those online calculators, they don't do a good job of really just explaining, how, you said you've done some upgrades. So I'll be able to look and see in comparison to your home or your property, what those properties are really selling for and the upgrades that they've done or not done. That do impact the value. And that's things that Zillow and Redfin really can't do a good job of on their online calculators. So I'll take that into account and bring some more information when I come on Saturday to help you in making some good decisions on where to put your price and also how to market it to get the highest value. Does that sound like a plan?
That sounds great, Rochelle.
Awesome. I'll look forward to seeing you then. Thanks so much for your time.
You got it.
And that was a shortened conversation. That was what, Shannon, did I hit my 5 minutes?
Yeah.
I think I did. I timed myself. I'm at 4:40. It was not quite 5 minutes, but it was for a role play. It's not bad.
Okay.
So Eric, so now that you've seen me role play it, now put your agent hat on. So you see kind of how you would build it if you were a new agent. You kind of would just take the script, the ideas of the questions. You can notice I didn't ask every question, but I certainly asked some of the questions here on the scripting.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the key stuff like house value, what my values, the seller's values are, and of course, landing the follow-up. If you can't land the follow-up, you shouldn't be on the phone with them. So,
right.
And it actually took me by surprise. You told me no right off the bat, but I think that was a smart move on your part because it allows you to take control of the conversation.
Okay.
So even role playing, I wasn't expecting you to say, "Oh, hold on there, I got to check my schedule first." I was like, "Huh?" So yeah, that kind of threw me off, but that's actually a really smart move.
Yeah. So you can go through, I think I asked you, what do you like? I did go back. You notice I naturally, in my head, I was like, oh, I forgot to ask one more question, opinion of value. Yeah. Or one more, you can go back and forth. You don't have to go down in sequence. Sometimes it makes sense to ask about the opinion of value before you talk about the motivation of moving. There's no it has to be done this way. I think it's more of, coming up with the questions, whether they be here or some others that you found, and building a script that makes sense, that sounds like you. You don't want to sound like you're scripted. Did you at any point feel like it was a scripted conversation, Eric?
No, it definitely felt very free flowing and fairly natural.
Okay.
So
that's the idea. You're looking to kind of grow into something like that.
Okay.
If it sounds too scripted, you probably need to spend more time role playing it so that it does not sound that way.
All right.
And it is very free flowing. So one answer could lead you down the path, and you might talk a lot about their situation or their family or the type of things they like to enjoy. I mean, we could have talked about golf for another 5 minutes, and all of that is just to build more rapport. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's super, super good to build even more rapport. And like I said, stay on the phone for at least 5 to 15 minutes. It will only help when you meet them in person to kind of build that connection and actually take the process down the line a little bit faster sooner. Okay. Any questions, Shannon?
Yeah, I think too, it's important to mention some of these questions that you're asking. It's not necessarily for all rapport building or to establish your profession. It also is logistically so that you can prepare for that appointment and set yourself up when you're there as well. So some of the questions that you were asking were like, what's your time frame for selling? What upgrades have you done? That gives us an idea when you put together a CMA and you're talking about, how much do you feel it's worth? What upgrades have you done? If you know that they've put, brand new hardwood floors throughout the entire house, that's an upgrade certainly worth noting on your CMA ahead of time, and comparing with the other ones while you're there. And it also, when the client has given you kind of their feeling on price, it tells you, okay, this is what they're expecting. You know what you're walking into when you go to that appointment. And can we justify that with the CMA? Or are we going to have a conversation about pricing when you're there?
Yeah, the worst thing you do is they think it's 550 and then you go in and just agree with them. Many times you have to prove with data that they're off base. And in this particular instance, they're probably off like 100,000, if not more, Eric. Then that happens. Like the seller thinks in their head, I've just seen the values go crazy and they put a number. And you notice that I didn't really care. Again, we're not then going to debate that. This is not the place to debate the price or their opinion of value. You want to kind of chalk that in the back of your head, knowing that you're definitely going to have to talk price with them and help them understand how homes are valued and how they increase, appreciate, and how the comparison works when you are actually comparing like an appraiser would do. Even though he owns his house free and clear, yes, I understand you want 550 or whatever I wrote down here, 550 for your house, but your house is only worth 399 when we really did the evaluation. So I know which house he was thinking about. And I was like, I could have gone, oh my gosh, Eric, I don't think this is going to work. Thanks so much. Good luck to you. But there's still, even though they give you a high price, continue to take the conversation forward, because a lot of times they just in their mind think that's that. And when you provide them with information, then they get realistic. So it's not what we end up with, it's what we start with.
So don't combat them over the phone. That was kind of my question. Even if they're insanely unrealistic, slowly let them down and do not fight that fight over the phone then.
Yep, that's not the place to negotiate prices on that phone.
Okay, how do you combat technology?
Technology, you mean in what way?
Like when they start going to the Zillows and the Redfins and all this is automated. I almost wanted to say, why do I need you? But I felt like that would have been too much pushback just for a role play. But honestly, I'm sure when we're getting these calls, we're going to start getting that a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's a separate call. Eric, it's a great question, but how do you deal with objections like technology? I could just do it myself. I do have some for sale by owner scripts you can use that are kind of a different flair. But certainly as far as that goes, I handled it briefly, but in person, it's a lot easier to handle that technology question once they see all of the work I did to put together their CMA, and they're blown away. I mean, I spent an average about 5 hours in preparation for their listing CMA. And the detail that I put into my CMA is much better than a typical agent, and certainly way better than an online calculator will ever get. So I alluded to the fact I'm going to get the appointment. In fact, I already got the appointment with you for Saturday. So I'm less worried about having that challenge or that objection. I was subtly handled your objection without like saying online sucks and, I've got what it takes. I'm going to do that in person, and it just sells a lot better that way. But you also will get objections, which did not come up on today, which I asked Eric to play nice. So he was honoring that.
Yeah.
But there have been times where I talk with the seller and they just flat out ask you, will you charge 5% or will you take less for your commission? They will oftentimes, I've kind of tested it. And I would say half of the people I talk to, and I actually do these types of questions, half of them will ask me about my fee and the other half will not. So you do have to be prepared to defend your rate on the phone. So if you're
so you do defend that on the phone. You don't wait till in person.
Absolutely. You do it right on the phone.
I was trying to bait that a little bit with the Redfin and Zillow and see where
you didn't point blank ask me. So
exactly. I didn't point blank ask you. So
you will at half the time will probably get asked that. And depending on your clients, some of them will ask you, the type of analytics, they usually like to get that out of the way right off the bat. So in that case, you just let them know, this is what I charge. And, you came highly recommended. And if it makes sense, we can discuss that at that time, but this is what I charge because of what I do to help you sell your property. So, I have a prepared answer to that objection, Eric, but you do want it to nip that in the bud. Do not just like, oh, we'll discuss that when we get to it. Somebody else will take the listing from you right off the bat. You do have to deal with that.
You got to go on the attack with that and defend your value.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome. Any other questions, Shannon, that we didn't cover that might be helpful? Or
no, I think one of my favorite questions when you're setting up appointments, and I've done this for you even when I've set up listing appointments for you in the past, is that question of what are you looking for in a realtor? I think it's, in this industry, I think you could give me the number, Rochelle, how many real estate agents there are in the industry in this area.
30,000, I think
38,000. That's a lot of real estate agents. Don't kid yourself. They're interviewing, that they will. it would be, I think just jumping right into it, what are you looking for a real estate agent? You then can play into that. Okay, they're looking for someone with that's going to handhold them, communicate with them from start to finish. When you present, that's basically what you're presenting. You know the package that you're going to be presenting to that client. So
They told you how to earn their business. Isn't that funny? I think they do that in this when you go get a massage, right? They tell you how you like your massage. Do you want like a lot of pressure, a little pressure?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
no different. You're just asking what is their preference for their real estate experience. Same kind of way, and you'll have a better massage experience. Kind of end with that.
Question, Rochelle. So let's say you say my fee is, let's just say 5%.
Mhm.
And let's say in this case, the client says, well, that's too high for me. Sorry, Rochelle, I don't think we need to meet.
Okay.
I mean, you could come back and say, this is what I do for whatever the percentage. And then they say, no, thank you.
Okay. Well, that's a choice that you made. So you've
So
established your
you'd
value.
rather just do that if they ask over the phone than trying to get the appointment in person and then talk about it?
Yeah, some clients, they're unrealistic and you dodged a bullet, Eileen. I mean, I've said no to some clients. They wanted me to do it for like 1%. It's like, no, I'm not going to do what I do. That's not the type of real estate I'm working with. You can go with another company. And when I've said no, Eileen, sometimes those are the right decisions because then I fill my bucket or I fill my listings with sellers that really appreciate what I do and how I'm able to obtain value for them.
Okay.
And to negotiate price. If they're trying to beat me up on price and I give in, then it's showing that I don't even know how to negotiate my own compensation, right? It's a weak position to be in anyways. And I'd rather let that seller go somewhere else. So say no, and it's like, I wish you the best. If things should change, let me know and I'll be happy to entertain that. Okay. So be firm with how you run your business and be confident with how you do it. Because we offer so much and it's actually for a lot less than they would do at other companies. Other companies may say that they do a lot, but then you get a lack of experience or somebody that's not very good at negotiating. And in the end, they're super frustrated and they're like, the guy just put this for sale sign in the yard and then he said it and forgot it. He didn't even do his job. And so I often get a lot of disgruntled sellers that call me because they're like, I want to work with the best agents. I don't want to work with somebody that's going to take cell phone pictures, right? And not hire a professional stager, photographer. And I know you said you did that, Rochelle, but you're doing it for less than 6%. Maybe you're offering me 5.75% to do that. They'll see the value once they meet with you, Eileen. But if they don't see it from the very beginning and you're not coming to an agreement on the phone, sometimes it's best to let that one go, and not get into a battle. You bring up a good point.
Thank you.
You bet. Any other questions? That was a great one. I work with a Boeing executive that was retired and he asked me, we went through lots of questions on the phone. And then even when I met him in person, but I did save my value. And he was like, you're right in line. And I see now that I've seen how detailed your analysis was, when I actually met with him in person, I think he interviewed in person 5 or 6 different real estate agents. And he selected me not because of my price, but about how I put everything together, the package.
Those high C types. Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to know how to communicate your value and then also explain the analytics to that particular and really kind of, in essence, mirror and match. It's that whole concept of mirror and match your opponent there. And in that case, you're trying to get them on your side because you're trying to help them get the most they possibly can out of their house. And we've proven that we can do that from our competitors very well because of the experience that we all have. Collectively, we have more experience than some of those competitors that you guys are probably thinking that have basically put a flat rate on their listing service, but they're leaving a lot of money on the table because they're working with people that have not worked in real estate very long or know how to do a good CMA. So they think they're saving money, but in reality, they're not. They're leaving money on the table.
Yep.
It's very hard to get somebody to change their mindset on that. All right. Thank you, Eric, for role playing and being nice tonight.
Hi, Rachel.
Yes, Santoso.
When you say like the proposal, like what do you do like of the information that you gathered? Like, do you like print out like pages and then CMAs
Yeah, we're going to go
and
through that. We're going to break it apart, Santoso. So stay
oh,
tuned.
okay. Okay.
It's a great question, but yes, we do a very full detailed market proposal at Best Choice.
Okay.
We don't just
Great.
print it off the MLS and go out the door, although
Right.
some people may be doing that. I got to get some bad habits
Okay.
taken care of. We
Right.
want a full proposal so that they understand the valuation and the marketplace and where they can properly position their home. So it's much more robust than just a typical CMA that I put
Okay.
together.
Okay.
But
Thank
great
you.
question. Stay tuned. Keep
I will.
following
Thank you.
our trainings, Santoso, and
Yeah.
you learn how I do it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You bet. All right. Well, we'll stay tuned next Monday. I think we're going to keep the seller training going on. We need more listings. So the more training I can do on sellers and the conversation and the objections and how we put together the presentation, I think the more confident you guys will all be.